All right, and we're live. Hi guys. So today we're gonna just discuss some bus processing, and I've brought in some tracks here from a track I was producing, and I have to warn you that as you can see, all the tracks, all the individual tracks are set to unity gain because they actually bounced from an older session. So the balance and just some processing is baked in. So I will do this where I have just different stages of mixing, where I'll just print effects on the first stage and then bounce that back into another mixing session, and then mix again. Probably for specifically bus processing, and this is what I'm going to do now. And I'm making this video because I was about to actually do some bus processing after the first version or first phase of the mix. Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna take you through the routing, which would be, I guess, the first thing you want to look at. So in this video, I'm just gonna cover some basics on like very light bus processing or mixing, and this is going to involve like some spectral manipulation or just fixing, and analyzing, and then we're going to follow that with some dynamic processing, and then maybe some more excitement, just harmonic excitement. So introducing more harmonic material into the individual buses in order to get some fatness, some punch, and some clarity. But yeah, so as you can see, I have the tracks set into I'm sending the tracks out into very smaller buses, right? So this is where the busing starts. In Logic, it's just called these summing stacks. And you just set a summing stack. Cool thing about a summing stack is that it has an output that I can send out, in this case, to like another bus that's going to my analog hardware outside the door. So that's cool. So I have the tracks, and what you're seeing here is Mutomatic, and I have that in my talkback aux, which is what you're hearing now. So what happens is every time I play music, the mic disappears, and then it comes back when I stop. Okay, very useful. So before I play the track, I'm just gonna go through some routing. Okay. So I have the guitars obviously in this first bus, and then I have ad-libs, which are vocal ad-libs, in this bus, and then I have the music, and this consists of just keyboards, bass, auxiliary keyboards, and pads and stuff like that, and effects is just all the transition effects of the music. Okay. The transition effects of the music, and some just free stereo width, really. So some nice background sounds as well. And then these are my background vocals, and then my lead vocals bus. And these are just multiple takes just different sections of the vocal take. Okay, and then I have my drums in this bus, and all of these are being routed out into my subs, right? So my sub buses is where I start summing everything out into the console, into like a small mixer outside the door. So I have a couple of these instruments being sent into these buses, and I'm not really going to go into detail, but I have 3 of them. So one is a stereo aux or stereo bus, and another stereo bus, and then I have a mono bus, which is routed to input 1 of the mixer outside the door. And so is everything else that's mono, right? So everything that's mono is going into this bus, and then from this bus, is going to go to the console. And the reason for this is to kind of be able to treat whatever's going into the to the console in the door first. So if, for instance, what I'm doing now is monitoring from the console. So all these buses are being sent to the analog console, and I'm monitoring those through headphones and bringing them back into Logic as well, into this bus, which is my print track. And then created a main aux as well in order to hear back the analog mixer on my monitors. So I'll actually call this front of house in my notes. Front of house playback. And yeah, so that's how basically the buses are set up. And these buses that are going to the console stay at unity gain. So I don't play with the gain structure up until this point. And then these buses are just automatic, channels, or just buses that Logic creates for you when you create an output bus, or when you send a bus to an external output. Logic will create an aux-like thing, which is printable. So that's the cool thing. And you can hear what I'm talking about. The mic is going out to output 7, which is the first input of the console, and back into Logic, and it's registering mono, as you can see here. The cool thing is that I can print these individual buses, and that's what I do before the master. I'll just print these individual aux channels that are coming from the analog board, and just mix master, do like a stems mastering thing. So yeah, it's purely just experimenting and playing around with sounds and trying to see what works. Okay, let's hear the tracks, and I'm just going to go through the buses and balance out the buses against each other. So I'm not going to touch the tracks, remember, because they're all set to unity gain. They already have a balance baked into them, and yeah, all right. Okay, cool artist. This is a song I produced. Still pending. It's not released yet. This is purely for educational purposes. And yeah, please don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes,
Um, so I like the balance that's baked in. I'm obviously going to go into the channels now and just do some more levels balancing because there's a lot that's all over the place, right? And then, okay, so I did do some balancing before, just some light balancing. So my range is kind of like 0, 1, -1 decibel, between -1 decibels and, -4. So just playing between that range, not making very, very, very heavy changes because the reason why I baked them is because I like the balance in like version 1 of the mix. So, yeah, okay. So I like what's going on here. I'm just going to go in the individual tracks and kind of balance the volume of the tracks going into the smaller buses, and while observing actually the buses that are going into the analog board outside. Okay, so the everything mono that's going out and into the channel, the mono channel of the console, is receiving compression and some just high shelf, right? So I'm boosting everything above above 15,000. Okay, that's why you're hearing maybe the vocal is a little bright. But I am gonna tame that in my buses now, and I'm gonna go into this first stage of my bus processing, and it's EQ, right? So I'm gonna just put an EQ on every one of my buses, and then just lightly try and carve out some boxy frequencies or some nasally harsh frequencies. Maybe pull down some low end. To if there's any there's a lot of low end going into the analog console, and then kind of so I'm really mixing this bus style first, so this kind of top down approach to mixing, and then later I'm going to be mixing into these buses that I've kind of planned out, right? So a very unorthodox way of mixing, but I come to love it. All right. So normally, it's not really advisable to make permanent changes on your bus processing, I would on a normal day just do basic dynamic equalization. With the EQ moves being changed over time or automated over time to the music, but you don't want to really have any permanent changes. And I'm really doing this for the purposes of the video. Okay, so I'm just gonna touch the that range, so everything above 15k. Everything above 15k, I'm just gonna touch lightly on the lead vocal. Hello. Okay, I was waiting for that. Just gonna come to the, so this is where I'll come to the channels and just drop everything 6 decibels. If it's feeding too much into the small bus, because I know that's going to build up into my sub buses and all the way to the stereo out. So yeah, I'm just kind of going around, balancing everything nicely, trying to find a solid marriage between the buses. And then so spectrally, I'm just checking the spectral balance, and that does involve some levels balance, because if something is loud in a specific range, it is contributing spectrally to that. So I will also go and do some levels balance and check my faders. But for now, more listening. Definitely want to pull down some low mids here on the effects bus. This stuff does build up, it's not audible sometimes, but it does build up. And then shelf some low end. Everything, yeah, under 90. That should be fine. Yeah, 3 decibels is fine. I can already hear the bass more. So the bass is also being routed to the same channel that the vocal is going to in the analog board, and it's receiving the same amount of compression as well as the kick. So I have this solid thing going on where my middle information is being compressed and summed together, and then I have certain elements of the mix also being routed into individual stereo channels into the console. So what I'm trying to achieve with this is some separation and depth into the mix that I've come to really love from kind of this hybrid setup. So I'll just make tweakings in the DAW while feeding outboard gear and then printing that back into the DAW. Okay, everything else I'm fine with for now because there is processing baked into the individual tracks. I don't want to really temper with that much. I'll want to now do some light compression on the individual buses. So on the instrument bus, I'm just going to use a basic clean fab filter compressor. And I'm going to tell this guy, so I don't have to think too much about this because the important elements that are supposed to be in the music bus are not there, like the bass. So every time I put this compressor on the on the kind of music bus, the low end is not prioritizing, or the compressor does not prioritize the low end much because it's not there. So whatever low end is in the music bus is just coming from keyboards or whatever. The bass, however, will be getting its compression outside of the box, and I think that's what's cool about this hybrid setup once again. Try and do like a very kind of like slow attack, not a fast attack. I don't really want to temper with the dynamics much. Kind of halfway with your attack settings and a 3-to-1 ratio. But this 4-to-1 ratio works pretty fine. I'm just going to play around with the threshold now. Ensuring that I'm receiving or just getting at least max 2 decibels of gain reduction. Nothing more than that. Max 3, actually. Yep, it's getting clearer. I can even hear the bells on my right. Yeah. That means all the smaller, kind of softer parts of the music bus were being brought up, while the louder parts were being tucked down. This is also getting so this particular bus, I'm going into bus 10, and bus 10 is the kind of input channel 3 and 4 in the outboard mixer, and that's getting excitement into that channel. So there is a little bit of distortion going into these sums of audio. Okay. So sometimes I will do some excitement and some just harmonic development into the DAW or in the DAW. So out from the box into the DAW, or just in the DAW purely out into the analog console, depending on how I'm feeling. But today I'm going to get some saturation. So how I get saturation in the board, obviously, is by driving the input stage or the operational amplifiers. of each track, and then also driving the output, the main output of the mixer. So it's a lot of stages of distortion happening at a time, but I'm doing it slightly, just slightly sparingly in order to not, mess up the audio altogether. I'm definitely gonna compress my effects bus also very lightly. And I'm gonna use the TDR EQ here for my bus processing. I'm gonna solo those. Solo this bus and kind of hear what's happening. Okay, I'm happy with that. It's just going to tame some of those exaggerated transient stuff. Also, max like 2 decibels of gain reduction. Okay, that part of the lead vocal was loud because the channel obviously was on unity gain. So this is where I can go and take down whatever's feeding my bus, because it's exciting. It's actually I'm working with a lot of biases here. It's exciting the analog board. So sometimes I'll reach a certain amount of distortion, and then you'll get to a part where the vocal is very loud, and then you'll hear the artifacts and the audio. So this is where I'll also automate in the DAW, or just automate on the board while printing, and kind of perform the automations in real time. Okay, definitely going to compress that vocal because it does feel a little all over the place. It is being compressed, but now you are not hearing the audio that's coming from. You're not hearing. Well, you are going to be. Well, you are hearing it now because this is after the video, right? But as I'm recording this at home now, I'm listening to the changes that are coming from the print, right? So in real time. So now when I upload this video now, you're gonna hear all the changes that I'm gonna make. All right, so I'm gonna compress the vocal a little bit in the DAW, and then it's gonna receive compression in the board. Outside Logic. But now the tricky thing is I have to share the gain reduction between these two places, right? So I'm gonna kind of reduce have a certain amount of reduction happening in the DAW, and then share that with whatever's happening in the outboard gear. Okay, so I would go with some excitement in the door, but it feels excited enough, and I like the saturation or distortion that's happening in the box. But now I'm going to go ahead and print this for you and have you hear the marriage between the door and the outboard gear together, working together. All right, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Cheers.